It's always a good time. We always get a big group, go out there, everybody gets dressed up, and then we have a traditional Thanksgiving dinner, a bunch of friends later that night in the same neighborhood. So it's always a lot of fun.
You don't bring your favorite horse like a good meal to like get him revved up and make you some big bucks? No, none of that.
Not at all.
That's not
myself.
legal.
I don't think so. No.
Oh, see, I don't know. I don't know. I just know the ponies and they run around and I lose my money whenever I bet on them.
My lack of cooking skills are exposed at this time of year. I mean, I usually am the guy that brings wine. I'm the wine guy. That's all I can bring. Everybody else brings the food.
But do you know how appreciative people are of that?
Yes, well, it better be, because that's all I can bring. I can bring some whipped cream or something to add to the dessert.
Some Cool Whip.
Yeah.
Drop it on there.
A can of cranberry sauce.
Exactly. Could someone find a can opener? I don't know how to work this damn thing.
Here you go. Here's some toast. That's about my cooking skills.
Look, I can't make fun of you either because my cooking skills go as far as opening up a box of Zatarans, pouring it in, dropping some sausage in, and I call that jambalaya.
Right.
That's as far as I can go.
I know. I mean, at this time of year, too, I'm so envious of everybody that knows how to do all these things.
It's good to have family who knows how to cook.
Right.
We're not it. Yeah. But yeah, look, we've got a great show today. Just a heads up, this will be our last live broadcast this week. We're taking some downtime, and hey, why not? Other people are. We could do it for like 30 seconds because we'll be flying out on Saturday morning to Los Angeles for the Rams game. So just a heads up, we will be having some best of shows. But a lot of the stuff we're going to be talking about today is going to carry over. So if you're in the car and you're driving around on Black Friday and you hear Scott Shanley talking about the Saints in 2009 and this year's team, it's evergreen. It's all gonna be okay. It's all gonna be okay.
You know, I was downstairs from our studios. We're at One Canal Place. I was working my way up through the mall today, and the mall's already crowded downstairs. People shopping before Thanksgiving already. So it just shows you how this thing is expanding out the holiday season. People are already in the spirit.
Absolutely, and they're breaking out their credit cards, I'm sure. If you're
No
downstairs where we are, you're breaking out your credit cards. But no, great show, and we're going to kind of run the gauntlet of New Orleans sports. Lots to talk about. Southeast Louisiana sports. Hello, LSU. Big win against Michigan last night in Maui while you were sleeping. At least while I was sleeping. I'm glad some people were up to watch it because they had the top 2 Sports Center plays from that game, and certainly pretty surprising. So we'll touch on a little bit of that with Ron Higgins, our LSU SEC columnist. We'll talk with him about LSU winning the game in the monsoon, LSU hosting Texas A&M, and Ron did a little Pelicans duty last night as the Pelicans picked up a nice win over the Oklahoma City Thunder. Jeff, I'm just going to reserve you some time to give your boogie backlash after he got tossed and all of a sudden they bounced back and won. So just bide your time.
Thank you.
Time, Jeff. I'm going to give you your time.
I saw our colleague Will Guillory put up a Twitter poll asking people whether it was a flagrant or not, and 73% said no. That must have been like Cousins and all of his immediate family voted on that.
It was at least a flagrant one. If it was someone else, it might have been a flagrant one. But it was him, and his reputation precedes him, and it didn't stun me at all. There was a flagrant 2, and they tossed him. David
Wesley and Joel Myers said right away on the broadcast.
Exactly.
And they work for the team technically. It was clearly a flagrant 2, and he's got to get that under control, man. I mean, it's part and parcel of what you get with DeMarcus Cousins, but he's hurting the team when he's not out there. Although last night he didn't really hurt him. I think he helped him.
Well, maybe it kind of turned them around and they were able to run the offense. Look, they're still a work in progress, but they're back above 500. I'm back on board, baby. Yeah!
You're on the bandwagon.
Super Bowl Pelicans. Oh, that's not right. The Super Bowl.
I'll tell you what, I would say this. I like the Pelicans situation right now better than the Thunder. The Thunder look lost.
Agreed.
They're trying to find their roles. They got a lot of talent, but I'm not sure what kind of team they have.
I agree. I think the Pelicans are way more salvageable than that team. They just look disjointed. So we'll talk more about that later on in the show. Coming up in about 5 minutes, we're going to go to Los Angeles. Sam Farmer covers the NFL for the Los Angeles Times. Of course, we're talking the Rams, the Saints, the scope of the NFL. Sam's been on a show before, a good friend of the program, so he'll jump on there as well. 10:30, we will catch up with Todd Grantham. He's fresh off of Jamaica, and we'll get his thoughts. Like Tulane men's basketball is 4-0. Tulane football, the biggest game of the Willie Fritz era. If they can go up to SMU and win on Saturday, they become bowl eligible. So we'll talk with Todd about that. And I alluded to it already. Around 11:30, we will have former Saints linebacker Scott Shanley, a good buddy of ours, Jeff, from over the years. We will get his perspective on this year's team. And now that there's this talk, and rightful talk, of comparing that team to the 2009 team, so we'll get Scott's thoughts about that. Why don't we take a break right here, and we'll take a break a little early because we know Sam is a talker, so let's fit it all in, and Todd has some compressed time, so let's try to fit this all in. So let's take a break right here on the show, and we will go to Los Angeles, talk with Sam Farmer of the Los Angeles Times, covers the NFL. So he will join us next here, Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. We're Dunc and Holder.
Sorry, I'm trying to get this photo
Your
thing.
shot.
No, I was trying to
now. Text
I was cutting it short to
allow more time.
You'll get a text confirming entry plus iHeartRadio info. Standard data and message rates apply. That's Bill to 200-200.
Clay Travis.
I'm a First Amendment absolutist.
Mornings 5 to 8.
I open up phone lines and let people just tee off on me and say I'm racist. Why do I do that? Because one, I know I'm not racist. And two, I think that allowing more voices to talk is always better than less.
Sports 1280, New Orleans.
If you need a payday loan fast, try LendUp.com. Apply in minutes on your phone or computer and you could have cash in your account fast. LendUp.com, the better payday loan. LendUp.com, subject to availability in your state. LendUp is a licensed credit services organization, not a direct lender in Ohio and Texas.
was right. You sent it to him, was like an 828
yeah.
number?
Yes.
The Amazon Black Friday Deals Week
I had it
is
on my
on
phone.
now,
That's why
with
I
deals
emailed it.
across every department. That's all the deals you're looking for, all in one place. Available wherever you are.
All right, we got Sam.
Good
Plus,
deal.
get free shipping on over 100 million items with eligible orders over $25. Good times. The Amazon Black Friday Deals Week, from November 17th to 24th.
Migraine is a disabling disease affecting over 36 million Americans. The American Migraine Foundation helps people living with migraine to find the support and treatment they need. Make your move against migraine at AmericanMigraineFoundation.org.
All right, 30 seconds.
Our sold-out 2017 iHeartRadio Music Festival from Las Vegas. Let's go! 2 nights, 1 stage. Over 20 of the biggest artists on the planet. Celebrated with iHeartRadio fans from around the world.
iHeartRadio, we appreciate it.
Our sold-out 2017 iHeartRadio.
Play a little California Love.
There you go. There you go.
You mean it's not Torture Tuesday?
Damn.
Nah, well, it should be, but no.
Thursday night at 7 p.m. on NOLA 38, the CW.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back to the show. Pleased to be joined by Sam Farmer, the Los Angeles Times, covers the NFL. And Sam, I remember the last time you were on the show, we were in training camp. It's been months, and we had no idea that the Rams would be this good. We had no idea that the Saints would be anywhere this good. Are you as stunned as myself and your good buddy Jeffrey Duncan at how good both of these teams have played so far this year?
Totally blown away. Just it makes me question everything I've gotten to know over the last 25 years.
We know nothing. We don't know. We don't even know football anymore.
Season. I would have said 6 wins would be good for these Rams, and so to have them where they are and to have a Saints have a defense, I mean, that's almost sacrilegious. It's amazing.
Sam, is the what's the kind of atmosphere like out in LA now? Are people jumping on board? I know it was kind of ambivalent there for a while. I'm just curious with Sean McVay, the energy he's brought to the organization along with Jared Goff, and they're a high-scoring team. I would imagine they're fun to watch. Are people getting into it out there?
Yeah, Yeah, Dunc, they're fun to watch, and the people who come to the games are getting into it. But it would be foreign to people in New Orleans because still, if you ask people on the street, I think most people would know that the Rams are in town. But it's not like it's taken the city by storm. Or I've had more people ask me, "What's it like having the Raiders back?" They're not.
On the pulse out there, aren't they?
So it's still, it's still a Dodgers town. It's still a Lakers town, and it's although it's fun to have the Rams back and fun to have the NFL back, it's still a work in progress. I've got a puppy, by the way, in the background chewing on this squeaky toy, so I'm going to hand her off to my daughter. Hold on one second.
No worries there, Sam. We totally understand.
Usually I've got the squeaky toy in the studio, so absolutely no worries.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Hey, Sam.
So it's still, people are still sort of catching on. They play in the Coliseum, which is a huge cavernous, seats 90,000 people, and it's one of the old-style stadiums, so it's a contiguous bowl, so the sound sort of seeps out of the Coliseum. It's like the antithesis of, what we see in Seattle or in New Orleans, where the sound is kept in. And so, with such a big stadium, it kind of appears like there aren't that many people there. And it's not, in truth, it's only 50, 60,000 people, but they kind of rattle around in a stadium that big.
Sam Farmer, the Los Angeles Times, joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. Sam, what's impressed you the most about Sean McVay, and what's kind of impressed you the most about Jared Goff from year one to year two? Because obviously it's light years different from when Jeff Fisher was there.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you look at the comparison, it's two completely different teams. I mean, the creativity with Sean McVay, Goff throws to more wide-open receivers than anybody in the league. That's taken nothing away from his accuracy or how well he's played, but it just seems like the creativity, it's a little bit like when Sean Payton came into the league. Sean McVay knows how to spring guys loose. And, the line is completely different, even though really the only major changes have been the addition of John Sullivan, the center, and Andrew Whitworth, the left tackle. It's gone from by far the worst line in the league to one of the best. Now, clearly, they're coming off a loss, so against a really tough defense. So they're not. This isn't as good as they've looked. But so you start with the line and sort of buttoning that down. That springs Todd Gurley open, and Todd Gurley kind of looks with some running lanes, looks like he did at the end of his rookie season when he was having those big games. Really one of the best backs in the league with the way he's been running this season so far. Jared Goff, he showed flashes of this last year, but the offense was just so bad and so predictable that it was tough for him to sort of display what he could do. He's not a dart thrower per se. I think he can sling it when he needs to, but he's not physically impressive that he's just like, Matt Ryan back there picking people apart. But he throws, he's got good touch and good accuracy, particularly on the run when he's chased out of the pocket or, sort of throwing across his body, hitting guys in stride. He rarely throws behind guys. He rarely misses guys. And he can get over the top of guys. He's got enough arm to do that. He's really impressive. The thing I like about Goff is when on those sort of unscheduled throws, when it's all hell's breaking loose, he finds the right guy. He finds the guy that on TV you say, that guy's open. Goff will find him. So he seldom throws to the wrong guy. And it's weird to think that he's only played, if you bunch all his games together, he's only played 17 games in his career, so just over a full season. Because he looks like a veteran quarterback. He certainly looks like the best quarterback in the division. And I would include Russell Wilson in there. I think Goff has played better than Russell Wilson this year. And then, the receivers, they've added some guys. Robert Woods has been their star guy. He's out for a couple weeks now with a shoulder, which will get Sammy Watkins more incorporated. Sammy Watkins is a guy who's made some big plays, but has disappeared in other games, and we all know he's a good receiver. They got this young guy, Cooper Kupp, rookie receiver, who's had a bad game this last game, but otherwise real sure-handed. And they got some decent tight ends, so they can spread it around a little bit, and I don't think they're going to miss Robert Woods too much. And then defensively, this was a pretty good defense last year that just ground down because they were on the field so much. That's what happened in Minnesota. There was the Vikings had at least an 11 or 12-minute time possession advantage, so they just stayed on the field with Case Keenum, and the defense kind of ground down.
Sam, a little trivia note for you. I know you put together your NFL column every week. Sean Payton, until 2 weeks ago, had never coached against another coach named Sean. He went against Sean McDermott for the first time.
Wow.
Now he's going against another Sean. 2 times in 3 weeks. He'd never done it in the previous 11 years. So just a little fun.
Jeff has got all the big time nuggets.
That's kind of weird. And Sean Payton will be coaching in his. Well, let's see. Would this be his first game in Los Angeles?
Yes, I assume yes. His daughter is enrolled at Pepperdine right there in the area, so he spends a lot of time out there. As a matter of fact, he was on a podcast with Michael Rappaport this past week and said that his daughter is dating Adam Sandler's brother-in-law. And so Adam Sandler is supposed to be at the game this Sunday in Peyton's suite.
So is he going to be the water boy, Adam Sandler, and he's going to come out and save the day for the injured Saints defense? I think that's what's going to happen.
That'll be interesting. We've had some. Dunc, you've had some times with Adam Sandler at the Super Bowl, haven't you?
Yes.
We've done the Sandler stuff. It'll be interesting because his suite, the suites at the Coliseum, are these on the field, basically like shipping containers.
Sounds great.
It's not what you think of when you think of a suite, a real suite. It's bizarre. They're behind the end zone, and they're kind of like shipping containers with open ends on each side. And somebody, I can't remember who made the catch. It might have been Robert Woods. Made a catch to try a touchdown catch and did like a Lambo leap over that wall. And people were having cocktails, and they just kind of looked at him. It wasn't like he came from outer space.
Call security! Get this guy out of here!
Yeah, exactly. It didn't have quite the effect of the Lambo leap. He kind of sheepishly climbed back over the wall.
Well, Sam, I'm curious to get your insight or opinion on the Saints start. I mean, do you think people around the league are taking them seriously as a viable, maybe playoff, I don't even know, Super Bowl contender right now?
It's such a weird year. You think all the really good stories are in the NFC right now, and yet I don't know if there's an NFC team that anybody really trusts. I think everybody, if you look across the league, everybody thinks, when's the bottom going to drop out? When's the bottom going to drop out on the Rams? So we already started to see that with the Viking loss. Is Case Keenum really going to carry the Vikings deep into the playoffs? And is Teddy Bridgewater ready to step in? Is this Saints defense really going to hold up? It seems like every team has a story. Seahawks, the offensive line, all that stuff. The Falcons, we saw their epic collapse. The Panthers, are you really going to trust that team down the stretch? So I think people are still in a wait and see mode. Clearly, you got Drew Brees, and so he can win you a lot of games, and he's dangerous. Young running backs, is that going to sustain for the rest of the season? But with the Saints, the real question is the defense a mirage, or is this really happening? Everybody's sort of rubbing their eyes around the league, looking at all these NFC teams now. And then the Eagles, obviously. Eagles, you say, well, Carson Wentz is in his second year. Can they really be this good? They got to come west, play the Rams in a couple weeks. And, I went to an Eagles game I went to their opener this year at Washington. And, they won that, but they didn't look like a juggernaut. So I do think, I guess the Eagles would look like the most complete NFC team right now, and the record backs that up. But, you do have to look at the Saints because of their quarterback and say, this is the guy who's done it. He's been to the mountaintop. Maybe he can do it again. So I think everybody's still in a wait-and-see mode. At least that's a feeling I get.
Sam Farmer of the Los Angeles Times covers the NFL, and I'm sure we will see him on Sunday for Rams Saints. Hey, Sam, appreciate it as always, and you and Jeff can go schmooze it up with Adam Sandler. I think you guys need to do that one more time.
All right, Larry. We'll take you with us.
There we go. Oh, see, that was my in. I was trying to butt in. So yeah, good deal. All right, Sam.
Of course, we'd never take you.
Oh, Sam. Never mind. See you, buddy.
Thanks,
all right,
bud.
That's Sam Farmer from the Los Angeles Times, one of the best in the business, no doubt about that. And I think the national perception, even though people are talking Eagles, I think he's right. I think everyone, it's such a weird year, and the NFC is so hot and heavy, and I think people are waiting for maybe someone to take a tick down, someone to take a tick up, and this Rams-Saints game is going to be that game, I think.
Yeah, I think he's right about the Saints, too. What we saw on Sunday with the injuries mounting on defense, and we saw how Kirk Cousins kind of lit them up, you really start to worry, especially about this gauntlet that they're getting ready to face. That's definitely the question on this Saints team.
No doubt about it. So let's take a break right here on the show. And when we get back, we will talk to our good buddy Todd Grantham, the voice of the Tulane Green Wave. They are on the verge of being bowl eligible. All they got to do is beat SMU, and they get there. So gigantic game for Willie Fritz and that club. So, and Tulane men's basketball, 4-0, coming back from Jamaica with 2 big wins. We'll talk with Todd about that as well. So come on back. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. We're Dunc and Holder.
Your forecast on Sports 1280.
Sean McVay and Jared Goff. I'll just lay out
This report is
You sound like Coach O.
Happy
Going down
Tuesday
the
from the
entire-
Fox 8 Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Shelby Latino. A mostly cloudy day on tap with temperatures climbing into the upper 60s. We're looking at about a 20% chance for some showers along the coast and south of the lake as we head into tonight, but most folks will stay dry. Then we'll see wake-up temperatures tomorrow morning in the 40s on the North Shore, 50s on the South Shore. From the Fox 8 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shelby Latino. Have a great day.
Download the McDonald's app and get a free large soft drink with any purchase every week. And right now, get any size soft drink or sweet tea for just $1 anytime at McDonald's. Limited time. Participation may vary. See mcdapp.com for details. McDonald's. I'm loving it.
Tesla is out with a mobile battery pack that will charge your phone. The power bank is shaped like a mini Tesla supercharger and has built-in USB, micro USB, and lightning cables, so you don't have to use a separate cord when charging your device. Tesla says the battery is the same one that's in their vehicles. Before the Model 3, Tesla's battery pack will run you $45. A generic one costs $10. The much-anticipated mobile game Animal Crossing Pocket Camp will hit phones this week. The 4th mobile game from Nintendo will arrive on Apple and Android and will feature microtransactions.
My niece just sent this photo of me. She found it at my sister's house.
Cute critters by performing
Oh my God! How big my head is compared to my body. I look like a great pumpkin.
Tricks. The Wi-Fi connected robotic vacuum cleaner can now be programmed to pause when a phone call comes in. Programmed to start cleaning a job when you leave.
She's like,
and
they're all
for some reason,
cackling,
you
making
can have
fun
it
of me.
post a
My
tweet when it
nieces.
finishes a cleaning job.
Appreciate
Tech
that, Pam.
Report, Larry Olson, NBC News Radio.
Pam's always been my favorite, Duncan.
Hi, I'm Joe Nichols.
Yeah.
All right, 1 minute.
Probably having fun with that.
IPF is a rare lung disease with symptoms that include breathlessness during mild physical activity, a dry, persistent cough, and chest discomfort. If you're experiencing these symptoms, see a doctor now. Visit
California
breathlessIPF.com.
soundtrack today.
Everyone does it in the living room, the garage, at the kitchen table. Everyone you know.
Kevin
the kid's
Conley
teacher, the neighbor, the
just,
coffee guy.
in the
Hey,
YouTube
you're doing
thing
it right
said he's
now.
watching from Carson,
I'm talking about
California.
listening to radio.
That's
Radio
LA
is
suburb, I
huge.
believe, right?
And radio ads like
That's
this
where
make
the
93% of
StubHub
Americans a
Center
week.
is.
That's bigger
Is
than
it?
For the Chargers,
and
yeah.
Google. So if you're a marketer with radio, you reach more of who you want. More boomers, more Gen X.
We got
I got your email, Jeffrey.
iHeartMedia.com for the one
And we
place
knew it.
everyone
And we got
is.
Graph.
AM, FM radio. Come on.
Oh, crap.
Everyone's doing it.
Put $1,000 in your hand.
Win $1,000 every hour, up to 16 times a day, weekdays, starting at 5 a.m. When you hear the keyword, text it to 200-200. Listen all day for a chance to put $1,000 in your hand on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Hi, this is Jennifer Coolidge. The American Heart Association says the disco song Stayin' Alive is the near-perfect beat for hands-only CPR. If you see a teen or adult collapse from cardiac arrest, you only need 2 steps to help save a life. Call 911.
Okay, we got him.
Center
Yeah.
of the chest.
I was totally prepared. I was just jerking your chain, huh?
To learn more, .org/hands-only CPR.
Nationally supported by the WellPoint Foundation.
Going deep on the teams you care about. Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back, Duncan Holder, Larry Holder, Jeff Duncan here with you at our NOLA.com Tom's Picayune studios. And now, back stateside, I'm sure he was so ready and willing to come back. Todd Grantham, the voice of the Tulane Green Wave, I'm sure he was ready to send for his wife and kids, and he was just going to be cocktailing, dreaming it in Jamaica. What's up, my friend?
Gentlemen, how are you guys doing? Yes, reality did set in when I walked through the door last night at about 6:30. A couple of screaming kids, stern look from my wife. So yes, 5 days on the beach, fun and sun, some golf. All that is a distant memory, but no, glad to be back. And the best part about it, fellas, was it was a successful trip. It was pretty much a dream weekend if you were a Tulane fan. I know you guys got into it yesterday, but not a whole lot to complain about right now.
No, absolutely not. You guys go to Jamaica. You beat Colorado State. You beat Fordham. You're 4-0. A couple of good wins, and now you guys are going to be taking on Miami, Ohio at home tomorrow night. And so, look, you combine that with what's going on with the football team. And, Todd, I feel like Tulane, look, you got some good mojo going with both the men's basketball team and the football team right now.
Yeah, no question about it. You know, you're down to must-win situations going into Greenville a week and a half ago, and you pull that one off in overtime. Then, of course, what happened on Saturday. I'm still kicking myself about that one because I tell you that the Tulane game and the Saints game had a lot of similarities. I don't think it was the Tulane game wasn't as dramatic a comeback as the Saints had, but still, when you're playing a Houston team that basically beat you all the time, going back to even 1998. I think we beat them twice since then, and they get the lead late, and then all of a sudden we get the long score with Oncolad, and then you got to make a defensive stop, and we do, and we get a first down, and then we're taking 3 knees, and I'm like, when the heck just happened? We just beat Houston. So just a huge win for these guys. As Coach Fritz said in his post-game presser, that it's going to be pretty easy to coach him this week, and I can tell you this much, just having been out here today, it's been very spirited, no question about it. Guys are ready to go. They know what's at stake. And what more can you ask for? We had some tough losses this year, Larry, no question about it. Just to put themselves in a position that, hey, you win and you're in, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Graf, I was going to ask you about the bowl situation. I mean, what realistically is Tulane looking at? If they can pull off this win over at SMU, SMU's lost 3 in a row. It's kind of a good time to catch them, even though I know that they still, have hopes of a good season. What's the realistic chances of Tulane getting a bowl if they win?
Jeff, I really can't. I don't think I can answer that question. I would say that they would definitely get in, but to be quite honest, I don't even think that you can even look at it right now in that terms. I think you can't think about what if. You just got to worry about what you can control, and what you can control is going out there playing your tail off. The thing that I noticed in that Houston game, just watching it, and I put that on Twitter on Saturday, watching a Tulane football game live on television was a very surreal experience for me. When I was thinking about it, I don't think I've missed a football game, home or away, in about 20 years. So it was really, really strange to watch it on television. But what I noticed on TV was just how fast we looked on both sides of the ball. It was just the effort, the energy, the intensity was there. And to beat SMU, they've got to do exactly the same thing on both sides of the ball. Just play with that type of intensity and speed, and do some hitting on defense, and we'll see what happens. But, look, everybody knows what the prize is, Jeff. I just don't think that you can look at the prize, if that makes any sense. Because if we don't win, it's a moot point. So it's hard to think about what could be if it isn't there in the first place.
Todd Grantham, the voice of the Tulane Green Wave, joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. Of course, Sports 1280 is the flagship station for all things Tulane football and men's basketball. Todd, you look at these last two wins, and is there anything you can put your finger on, maybe one or two items that you've seen a difference from during that losing streak?
Yes, I can tell you one thing without question that's different. Jonathan Banks is healthy. Jonathan Banks is about as 100% as he has been in about a month. And that's not just running, that's throwing. He's got zip on his ball, which he did not have in October. He's been battling a shoulder issue for much of this year. Not a whole lot of people know about that. I guess they know about it now, but he's come back from it. And he'd been banged up, remember, earlier in the year when he fell on the ball at Navy. It took him a while to get over that, too. But he's got a lot of burst now running the football. But what I've really noticed over the last couple of weeks is he's got zip throwing the football. And that slant in, which has really become pretty much the main weapon of our offense, throwing the ball either to Onkelat or to Mooney or to Cluis. He is throwing it with precision. Of course, the slant in won the football game against Houston with that 65-yarder Terran Onkelat. So that, to me, is the number one issue, because now, again, I don't know if you guys watched the game, but you saw some rollouts, stuff that we hadn't seen during that losing streak. They're starting to make him mobile, a little more mobile, running out of the pocket, and he's very, very good throwing on the run. And again, that's just kind of a longer answer, Larry, but that to me is the main difference. Banks is as healthy as he's been since August.
Graf, I want to dial back and go back to the men's basketball team real quick, because I know you were over in Jamaica with them, and Melvin Frazier obviously had a huge tournament, was named the MVP of the Jamaica Classic and the American Athletic Conference Player of the Week. What else, though, is going right for Mike Dunleavy's team? What are you seeing that maybe is different from a year ago that's given them early success?
They're putting the ball in the hoop, Jeff. I mean, their shooting percentage, we actually had a bad shooting night against Fordham, and we shot 45%. Last year we would have killed for 45%. When you score, that really cures a lot of evils. You shoot 50% in the first three games. Against Colorado State, we shot 55%, and the three-point percentage is near 45 to 47%. So we're shooting the ball very consistently. We're sharing the basketball as well as I've seen in a very long time. Against Colorado State, we had 21 assists on 27 makes. That is just a phenomenal percentage, which means guys are giving the ball up and they're getting open looks. And I was saying during the Colorado State game, the Fordham game, you kind of throw out because Fordham, they just try to ugly it up. I mean, they play these freak defenses, they change things around, and they force you to do things that you normally wouldn't do. And it was just one of those games where, hey, you got out of there with a win and you sprinted out of the gym and say, all right, we won the game. But with Colorado State, that's a pretty good opponent, and we made them look silly. And the thing about it, and what I was saying during the broadcast, our shooting percentage was so good, but we're taking wide open threes. Our ball movement is so good, and our system lends itself to the fact where guys are covering one, and then you whip it to the open guy, and you're literally shooting a three like it's practice. And we've got good enough shooters now where they've worked on it time and time again, where the threes are going down, and it just makes us a very difficult team to defend.
Todd Grantham, voice of the Tulane Green Wave, joining us right here on Dunc and Holden. You look at the next 4 games. You're home against Miami, Ohio on Wednesday. You go to Georgia State on Sunday. Then a week from Wednesday, you're home against Alcorn State. And then you go for a week from Sunday at Chapel Hill at North Carolina. So I'm sure, look, you know how a daunting task that North Carolina is going to be. But you look at these 3 games and the way Tulane's been playing, look, I'm guessing you're expecting Tulane to come out and play good basketball and be really thinking that these are winnable games, right?
Well, no question. Look, Miami was in Jamaica, so we've got a pretty good idea of how they're going to play. And by the way, even though the game is not technically in Montego Bay, the Miami of Ohio game is a Jamaica Classic game, like the LIU Brooklyn game on opening night, which was played on Ferret Street, was a Jamaica Classic game. So right now, Tulane's 3-0 in the tournament, and the Miami game is also a tournament game, so it's a very important game. But I said, we've got a pretty good idea of how they play. They got a very good point guard. They got a good 6'7" swing man. But, again, I just like the way we're playing. Georgia State, that's going to be an interesting trip to Atlanta. I'm actually flying to Atlanta after the SMU game, so I'll be there for that one. And, of course, Ron Hunter, that team was the talk of the NC2A tournament 2 years ago. They fell down a little bit last year, but that's going to be a very difficult place to play on Sunday. And then, of course, Chapel Hill the week after. So, yeah, look, it's fun, though. I mean, you're looking forward to the next game. I'm certainly looking forward to tomorrow night and see how the guys respond. You know, and Mike Dunleavy said it all weekend, fellas. After the Colorado State game, he was like, all right, this is a good trip so far. You win on Sunday night, it's a great trip. Well, it was a great trip. Look, we're there 5 days. But I tell you, man, those kids, it was all business. I mean, they got in the pool and had some fun, don't get me wrong. But it was definitely a business trip for those guys, and they played like it. And to go out there and win 2 games and come back with a lot of confidence and have a home game tomorrow night, you could not have asked for anything better. It was a great 5 days to be with them, and I'm really looking forward to tomorrow night.
All right, Todd, break down the broadcasting schedule for the rest of the week here on Sports 1280.
Ooh, boy, that's a lot. All right, here we go. Tomorrow night, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock tip. We urge everybody to come on out, though, and support this team. We haven't been 4-0 in 4 years. So it's a great time to watch Tulane basketball, and that's a Jamaica Classic game against Miami of Ohio. Then Saturday, of course, the football game against SMU. It does not get any bigger than that. 10 a.m. is your pregame show. 10 a.m. is the pregame, 11 o'clock kickoff. I think we've done pretty well this year with 11 o'clock kicks. So as you can hear, the guys are practicing right now. So 11 a.m. won't mean a whole lot to them. 10 a.m. pre, 11 a.m. kick. Then the very next day, it'll be the same thing. 10:30 a.m. pregame, 11 a.m. tip here in New Orleans. Tulane basketball at Georgia State. So we've got some early ones coming up on Saturday and Sunday, and then tomorrow night the normal 7 o'clock.
All right, Todd. Appreciate it as always, my friend. Yeah, next time you go to Jamaica, I'm going. That's it. The end. Got to go.
It didn't suck. It didn't suck.
I assume that. It did not suck. So, hey, Todd, appreciate it, as always. Why don't we take a break right here on the show? When we get back, I don't know, Jeff. We got the rest of the shows kind of lined up. You want to complain about Boogie or give praise to Will Wade and the LSU Tigers?
I mean, what are we doing with all this success? Everybody's winning right now. Every sport. It's amazing.
Do you want to hunt for a loser?
No, I'm just saying it's really remarkable, isn't it? That
it is.
Every program is kind of on top of it right now.
Nothing wrong with that.
It's good to see.
Absolutely. So come on back. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
Chris Gordy.
Defense is playing much better. I just think that.
I think I'm going to go to that game tomorrow night.
I don't know if it's scheme anymore.
What, Tulane, Miami, Ohio?
Yeah, and just write something on, like, she was wanting me to write about, like,
guys
Tulane
that maybe aren't living up to expectations that we had for them coming into the season.
On Sports 1280, New Orleans.
A well-known hospice expert says, believe it or not, Thanksgiving is a good time to discuss end-of-life wishes with your family.
Hospice
No
here are
Pelican Spurs for you?
The quality of life. And
No,
we want
Ron,
people talking about that really before
That's
crisis.
good. That was smart.
Ido Banner, the
Yeah, they're
National
using them to
Hospice and
kind of
Palliative Care
control wills.
Organization,
Yeah.
says the
was
holidays,
gonna go.
when we come together, provide a good opportunity to let family know where we stand on important health issues like ventilators and artificial feeding. He says during a time when
This is what's
many of
good
us
about it, is we
exchange
spread out a
gifts,
little bit,
you
you know,
can give your
cover some
family
stuff.
peace of mind
Otherwise,
by
I'd probably be
preparing an
having to go to
advance
that.
directive
Mhm.
and naming a healthcare
Although I don't
proxy.
think he wrote
Name
last night, did
someone
he?
that you
Yeah, he did. He wrote
make sure they
about
know what your
Rondo
wishes are,
and
both
like
at the end
Tony
of life
Allen, like
and
kind of the old
generally what kind
guys,
of
like
care you want.
stabilizing
And
the.
second,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
directive beyond the healthcare proxy that says this is what I
Jeremy,
want.
I need to reach out
what
to
I
him to
want
tell
done.
him we
Health
need to get the
update,
studio
Sarah Lee
in
Kessler,
Atlanta.
NBC
I haven't
News
booked my
Radio.
flight yet.
I haven't either.
For many
Flight to LA
businesses,
was like
hiring is
$440
tough.
bucks
You want
or
access to
something.
highly
Mine ended
qualified
up being
talent
about
that's
$5,
fast.
I think.
And you don't want
but
to sign a long-term
I mean, I thought it was
contract
gonna be
to pay
crazy.
upfront
Yeah.
fees. All you need
When do you get in?
Indeed.com, delivering
I'm going
6
Friday
times
night.
more hires
Oh.
than any other
I'm
job
just
site,
paying for
according
the
to
room,
independent
but
research.
I'm gonna-
I get in at
Indeed
8
is
a.m.
offering
Saturday
new
morning.
users a $50
Pacific.
credit to give their first job
Yeah, I'm gonna
post
try to get
premium
together with
visibility
the-
as a sponsored job.
Like Josh
Redeem
Peter, I
this
think,
offer at
one day.
Indeed.com/credit. That's
You know,
Indeed.com/credit.
I gotta figure it all out.
Terms,
Sam
conditions,
was
and
talking about
quality
going to dinner,
standards
so
apply.
I might go to dinner if you want to go.
A 52
I think me and Sean Bazan have dinner plans. Like we're going to go be total
The Falcons get a 34-31 win over the
What
Seahawks
are you gonna
on
do?
Monday Night Football
Something
in
fun?
Seattle. Matt Ryan
Probably-
picked
it's
apart
probably not gonna be
shorthanded
fun,
Seattle
but
secondary for 2
we're,
touchdown passes.
Our wives are
Head
obsessed
coach
with
Dan
the show
Quinn and
Vanderpump
the W.
Rules that's
Really,
on Bravo, and so me and Sean want to go there and like have dinner and like
Falcons and Seahawks
and take
both
pictures
moved
as
to
in, as in
4-4
like
tightly packed
we're here and
NFC
you're not.
race.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah, no, I think it's a cool idea.
Yeah, so
yeah, man, you're in LA.
Yeah, I figure why not.
Well, we could also maybe,
overtime.
you know, depending, because I'm trying to juggle meeting all these people sometimes.
Do you have a car?
Clutch.
I haven't got one yet, no.
Understanding
Might
where
not get
spacing
one.
is, where the shots are
I
coming.
think Uber
when
is
it's
just
time to
it's
put the-
cheaper,
put the
yeah.
pedal on the-
and
on the gas
it's
pedal.
less headache. We're at the airport. Why do I need to return a car?
Well, maybe Sunday night.
The NFL Compensation
You know,
Committee
might be
is
able to get
denying
dinner
Cowboys
somewhere.
owner
Well,
Jerry
yeah.
Jones'
With our
request
crew.
to
Yeah,
vote on
invite
Commissioner
Sam to that
Roger Goodell's
instead.
contract
Yeah.
extension. That's sports. Jake
It's
Corwin,
like Sam
NBC
doesn't
News
know.
Radio.
He doesn't know Josh.
15 seconds.
Involved in youth
I
and
know
high school
Henderson wanted
sports,
to get
you
dinner,
need
so
to
I
know
might see
about
if I can get
Positive
dinner with
Coaching
him Saturday
Alliance.
night.
PCA is
Yeah.
a national
Well,
nonprofit
sort of.
organization developing
At least we
better
could do
athletes
lunch,
and better
like, because
people
I'll get
through
there so
youth and
early,
high
I'm gonna
school
be like,
sports.
Yeah,
For more
lunch is
information,
cool out there. There's
visit
a lot of good lunch.
positivesports.org.
That's fine. Because I might get there and work in the morning and then.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Pelicans back above 500, 9-8, 114-107 winners against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And yeah, last night, Jeff, I was flipping back and forth from Monday Night Football to this game, and look, the Oklahoma City Thunder were leading the Pelicans by like 19 in the first quarter, so it's kind of the typical MO of the Pelicans. Take a dive in the first quarter and kind of you always have to scratch and claw your way back into the game. And to their credit, they did it. And they could have just kind of fallen off the map once DeMarcus Cousins gets tossed for an elbow to the head to Russell Westbrook, but they didn't. And look, I got to give them credit. I mean, because first off, I was telling you before the show, I didn't realize that Oklahoma City Thunder, that they kind of didn't have it together as much. You hear the big names, you assume they're above 500. They're not, and so
no, they're struggling.
Yeah, but hey, it's a win against. And look,
it's a team they're going to have to compete with for a spot.
I still think the Cavs win is going to be a good win mentally. I think this win is a good win mentally because you're playing some superstar players and you're beating their teams. I still think it's good.
Look, they did what they had to do. I think the key that I'm seeing for this team is Rondo. When he's in the lineup and the offense goes through him, they're a different team. They're much better. He made some brilliant passes down the stretch last night. He's the guy, in my opinion, that needs to facilitate this offense, not DeMarcus Cousins. I know they want to play with the bigs, through the bigs, but it's just we saw the beginning of that game last night. One of the reasons they were in such a deep hole was because Cousins was turning it over, leading to fast breaks. The Thunder had a number of steals. I don't know. The Pelicans just came out of the gate and looked really, I don't know, lackadaisical is the best word I can use. And then once they settled down, they started playing much better defense. They made some adjustments, and I thought the coaching staff did a really good job as well of adjusting. But Rondo is just a really savvy veteran, and they got some really good bench play. You mentioned the plus-minus statistics for the bench were off the charts.
Yeah, Rondo played 31 minutes, only scored 4 points, and when he shot a three-pointer once, I said, don't ever do that again. But being the facilitator is exactly what you were looking for. And Anthony Davis played 45 minutes. He played the entire second half. I'm sure he was wiped out. But look, 36 points. Cousins did have 18 while he was in there. He got tossed after only playing 26 minutes. And let's see, Drew Holiday had 18 points. So look, I'm not going to bag Drew Holiday for that because that's the production I would expect. 18's fine. Look, Etuan Moore had 12. But look, you mentioned it, the bench. Just to put plus minus in perspective here, Darius Miller, 11 points. The plus minus ratio was 26. Dante Cunningham, he did not start. Etuan Moore started, so they made a switch in the starting lineup, and I think that paid off for him. Cunningham, look, he didn't score these massive points, but when he was in there, plus 19. Jameer Nelson played 18 minutes. He scored 9 points. The plus minus for Jameer Nelson was 30. I don't even think I've ever seen that much, 30. And then Tony Allen came in and played some good minutes, plus 11. And look, our own Rod Higgins, who we're going to have on in the next segment, he's picking up and doing some Pelicans work this season, which is a good thing. Look, he used to cover
the Grizzlies,
a million Grizzlies games when he was up in Memphis at the Commercial Appeal. And so you see the bench playing well. And look, they needed it last night because you go down a guy. Look, Cousins goes out, your rotation gets smaller. You only got 8 guys, and look, they got it done. And I think collectively it was a good team win, especially through some adversity with Boogie being ejected with the flagrant 2.
Well, look, when you look at Miller, Jameer Nelson, Tony Allen combined, they hit 11 of 14 shots. I mean, that's very efficient. And you're right, the lineup change was interesting. Now they're going with 3 smaller kind of guards, Rondo, Holiday, and Etuan Moore, with the 2 bigs, Cousins and Davis. And that's a change in the lineup. Dante Cunningham's been kind of relegated to a bench role now. And that's going to cause some matchup problems for them. And it did last night because invariably Rondo or one of these guards ends up guarding a small forward like Carmelo Anthony or Paul George. And really, I thought they did a good defensive job on Russell Westbrook. He was 6 of 19, so he ended up with 22 points, 16 rebounds, 12 assists. He had a triple-double, but they made him work for it. He was 6 of 19, and Carmelo Anthony was 7 of 19. He had some bad turnovers down the stretch. I just think Carmelo Anthony's kind of done. I'm not impressed with him at all, and they're trying to make him this big 3 guy, and I just don't see it. I mean, I don't see it at all. He takes a lot of bad shots, turns it over, and I think if they would get the ball more to Paul George, they'd be better off because I think he's clearly their second best player, but they're trying to facilitate this big 3, and I think it's causing more problems than not.
And we mentioned at the top of the show how they've definitely got a big 3. Look, Pelicans, you can argue they have a big 3 because I think you look at Westbrook, George, and Anthony, they're a much bigger 3 than Davis, Cousins, and Drew Holiday, you're like forcing him to be like a big 3. It's like a big 2.5, let's be honest, even though you've got the big money there. But I do think, to your point that you mentioned, that the Pelicans are in a much better situation as in facilitating their superstars as opposed to the Thunder. I think Billy Donovan's got his work cut out for him at OKC, and I think Gentry, they're starting to learn it with Rondo, and I think there's potential there to kind of figure this thing out. Look, they play the Spurs on Wednesday night, obviously a big boy in the Western Conference, and I'm sure that is another one of those barometer games because Pelicans have beaten all the teams they're supposed to beat, and they lose to the teams that are either right around them or a little bit better. So I'm curious to see how they come out on Wednesday night.
Well, next to the Warriors, who they played, early on, I think the second game of the season, this will be the biggest test they've had all year. And they have them in the Smoothie King Center. They have them at home. We'll see now. This will be a good measuring stick game for the Pelicans because right now, you're exactly right. They haven't done anything to surprise me. Even though their record is better than it's been, they're not challenging the teams that you need to challenge to make a run in the playoffs. As it is right now, they're looking like a 7 or 8 seed at best. And I'm not sure that's going to be good enough.
And you look at the Pelicans, again, we've been harping on that schedule that they've got coming up. Good win against the Thunder. You take on the Spurs. And then it just keeps going as far as in the Western Conference. You were at Phoenix, which is a winnable game on Friday. Saturday you go to, so it's a back-to-back. Night 2 of a back-to-back, you go to Golden State. That's going to be a tough ask. Then you're at home against Minnesota, at Utah, at Portland, home against Golden State, home against Denver, and then home against Sacramento. So it's a stretch where you can make some moves, and I think some teams like Minnesota lost last night. You got some help kind of within the conference. I know it's early, but every win's going to matter, especially with how competitive the Western Conference is. So I don't mind paying attention to the standings right now because you want to see if the Pelicans get from 8 to 6 to 5. I mean, it's all going to matter at some point, and it's going to matter right now, honestly.
And look, they're playing the Spurs without Kawhi Leonard. So this is a real chance, I think, to get a nice win and continue this momentum.
I agree. Hour number 1 is up. Hour number 2 is on the way. We'll talk last night's Pelicans game with Ron Higgins. Also, LSU Tennessee / LSU Texas A&M. And how impressed was he with LSU basketball last night? They went to the Maui Invitational, beat Michigan. Now they take on number 13 Notre Dame tonight. So Will Wade's team's got some legs under them and getting some things done. So we'll talk with Ron coming up next. Here's Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeart Radio app. We're Dunc and Holder.
When was the last time you walked out of a mattress store feeling confident about your purchase? These places exist for one reason, for a highly trained, commission-driven salesperson to dupe you into spending way too much money on a mattress. Hi, my name is Neil, and I'm one of the co-founders of Casper. Casper was created with a single goal in mind, deliver a great night's sleep at an incredible value. We sell the Casper mattress online, skipping the markups of mattress stores, and we let you try it out in your own home for 100 nights risk-free. In less than 3 years, we've rapidly become the internet's favorite mattress. In fact, it now has more than 20,000 reviews with an average of 4.8 stars. Try us out today.
Yeah.
See for yourself why an independent
just look at the
research study
team.
showed
They're not.
Casper mattress owners are 3 times as likely to say they get great sleep.
Incredible.
Simply go to Casper.com and use code EVENT to get $50 towards your mattress purchase.
Cleveland's about 500?
Yeah!
Of course they did.
$50 towards your mattress
They were
purchase.
playing like crap.
Casper.com. Thanks for checking us out.
They won't care until
WNOE-FM HD2 New Orleans. Listen on the free iHeartRadio app. Search Sports 1280. Fox Sports trending now.
The Atlanta Falcons take on the Seattle Seahawks on Monday Night Football, Week 11.
Ward's come back in, 3 tight ends, Ryan on a play fake. Matt looks, gonna throw. Toilolo wide open, touchdown Atlanta. Levine Toilolo catches a touchdown against Earl Thomas and then spikes it right on top of it.
That was the difference maker. Atlanta improves to 6-4 on the year, tie with Seattle, but holding the tiebreaker 34-31. Matt Ryan, 19-27 for 195 yards and also 2 TDs. Switching on over to issues off the field in the NFL, Giants DJ Fluker not expected to play on Thursday against the Washington Redskins. Jerry Jones says they expect Shanley to be out on Thanksgiving against the Chargers because of his bad hamstring. Steelers have activated rookie quarterback Cameron Sutton from injured reserve. I'm David Gascon.
A blockbuster legal showdown to block a blockbuster merger. The Justice Department says it is suing to stop AT&T's proposed $85 billion takeover of Time Warner, owner of HBO and CNN, among others, saying it will put too much power in the hands of one company. AT&T Chair and CEO Randall Stevenson says the companies don't compete, so this is not a legitimate antitrust concern.
There's been a lot of reporting and speculation whether this is all about CNN. And frankly, I don't know. But nobody should be surprised that the question keeps coming up, because we've witnessed such an abrupt change in the application of antitrust law here.
AT&T, which also owns DirecTV, says the merger is necessary so it can compete with the likes of Netflix, Amazon, Facebook, and Google for digital ads and video streaming. The Justice Department says it is open to negotiation, but Stevenson says it will never agree to sell off CNN. Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen is leaving the Fed entirely when her term ends in February, and President Trump's pick Jerome Powell is sworn in. She could stay on until her term as a governor ends in 2024, but she's hanging it up instead, as most former chairs do. Despite the big oil spill in South Dakota, state regulators in Nebraska are green-lighting the Keystone XL pipeline. Tom Roberts reports.
It was the last big regulatory hurdle for the Canadian-based pipeline. President Trump has also given a thumbs up to the controversial pipeline, which will carry thick crude oil from Alberta to the Texas Gulf Coast. The project has faced heated opposition from environmental groups. The pipeline was recently shut down in South Dakota after a leak of roughly 200,000 gallons of oil. Tom Roberts, NBC News Radio.
And a bed foot warmer is under recall because it could give you a burnt foot. Sleep Number says it's received about a half a dozen reports of foot warmers sold with its 360 smart beds overheating. One person so far reports being burned. That's out of about 12,000 combined with its FlexFit 3 adjustable base. Sleep Number says stop using it and they'll replace it with one that won't burn. Consumer and Business News, Joe McConnell, NBC News Radio.
Welcome to Zip Poll USA, the place to find out what Americans really think about what's happening in celebrity news and trending topics. Download the Zip app today in the App Store now and join the conversation. I'm Christina Staffo, and here's what opinionated Americans are talking about today. Uber Eats let down Londoners after their failed free Krispy Kreme delivery campaign. Would you give a food delivery service a second chance or find another? Men and women were polled about this, and here's what they had to say. So women are way more forgiving than men with this one. 62% of women would give it a second try. Only 47% of men agree. The rest say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. If you want to hear about the latest Zip Poll USA trends, come visit us at zippoliusa.com or find our podcast on your favorite social media feeds or podcast sites. We post new poll results every day, and of course, download the Zip app today.
Greg's going to play Tom. Because he's not involved with football anymore.
Yeah.
A well-known hospice expert says, believe it or not, Thanksgiving is a good time to discuss end-of-life wishes with your family.
Hospice and palliative care are philosophy of care that emphasizes.
Hey, Grandma, pass the gravy, and hey, where do you want us to bury you?
Ido Bannock of the National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization says the holidays, when we come together, provide a good opportunity.
God, these things are so depressing.
Stand on important health issues like
I swear, I'd have to really strongly consider not using them anymore.
time when many of us exchange gifts. You can give your family peace of mind by preparing an advance directive and naming a healthcare proxy.
Name someone that you trust. Make sure they know what your wishes are, both at the end
So
of
when
life
you die,
and just generally what kind of
die
care you
peacefully.
want. And the second thing is an advance directive beyond a healthcare proxy that says, this is what I want, this is what I want done.
Health Update, Sarah Lee Kessler, NBC News Radio.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
$1,000 in your hand? Sounds good.
All right, we got Ron.
Next keyword is minutes away on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Dunc and Holder, hour number 2 on a Tuesday, November 21st. If you missed any of hour number 1, we had Sam Farmer from the Los Angeles Times. We had Todd Grantham, voice of the Tulane Green Wave. Go to sports1280.com, NOLA.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube pages, and you can check out hour number 1 after we wrap up hour number 2. And joining us to open up hour number 2, Ron Higgins, LSU SEC columnist, and now Pelicans aficionado. But Ron's seen one game. He can map out what to do with Boogie Cousins when he gets tossed. You know, Ron, you kind of got to see it all last night. You got to see the first Boogie ejection of the year, and you got to see Carmelo Anthony jack up a bunch of shots, but you got to see a Pelicans win, though, while you're at it.
Yeah, it was your typical wild NBA game where one team falls behind by about 20 in about 6 minutes, and then they just kind of, come back and chip away, and other, OKC finally cooled off. They were shooting out of their minds the first 6 minutes, like everything went in. I mean, there were people still walking in and looking for seats, and they probably looked up and said, "Did we only miss like 5 minutes of this game? Because they're down by 19." But I got to give the Pels credit. They didn't panic. They came back, and the ebb and flow of NBA games. I mean, you can go from 19 down to into single figures down in a matter of 5 or 6 possessions if you handle it right. And they did. They didn't panic, and they played through it to their credit. And then all the stuff with Boogie the second half happened, and that just kind of seemed, it was kind of like LSU getting a well-timed storm in Saturday's game against last Saturday at Tennessee. That storm blew in, and it turned around for LSU. Well, Cousins got tossed, and it turned around for the Pels. They kind of dug a little deeper and won the game.
Yeah, Ron, I liked your piece today about the old guys in the lineup, Rajon Rondo, and who am I blanking on now?
Tony Allen.
Yeah, Tony Allen. Yeah, Tony Allen. Those guys seem to stabilize this team. I think and even you could throw Jameer Nelson in there as well. I mean, those guys, I think, kind of give this team some veteran presence when they get down like that, not to panic.
Yeah, Rondo and Tony have been on, maybe, I guess, only people on this team have been on a championship team, I'm thinking. They were with the Celtics when won a championship, and they've been in NBA finals and stuff, and they've been in every one of these type games. They've been in a million of these games that happened last night, and they just kind of steadily and played through it and play possession by possession, and they do the little things that matter, especially Tony Allen. Look, Tony Allen is responsible for the Grizzlies being a playoff team they are every year now. He changed their entire culture, the way he played and the way he got down and got dirty with his down and dirty and grinded it out, so to speak, and never quit on possessions and played defense and loose balls and hustle. And he kind of changed the entire, outlook of the Memphis franchise of the way they play. And you can see last night, he's finally getting well again. He can do the same thing here. He's not going to wow you with his offense, but that's not what he's all about. As he says, I don't mind just getting the scraps. And he just kind of flies around and makes defensive plays. And you got to have some guys like him on your team because you have some star power, guys who can score. You got Cousins and you got Davis. You got a ton of offense, but you need people to do other things. And Tony's one of them, and Rondo's one of them.
Ron Higgins joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. Ron, let's switch gears to your normal cup of tea. Look, LSU goes up to Tennessee. The monsoon comes. The legend of Ed Orgeron comes, and he does a halftime interview, and it basically inspires, not knowingly, it inspires LSU fans and inspires the Tigers to go out there and really just get a grinded-out win up in the conditions, which is kind of the way you expected. And you look at kind of the way LSU has been playing lately. Look, they went out and took care of business against an Arkansas team that, all right, maybe they could find some energy. It didn't happen. They're going up, play a Tennessee. Maybe Brady Hoke can get them going. Nope. LSU was able to kind of put their will against them by the end of the game. And then you got Texas A&M, where there's all the chatter that this, there maybe the Aggies are going to try to rally around Kevin Sumlin to possibly keep his job. And look, do you think LSU can go kind of do it again and put another nail in a team where you figure they could be better then?
Well, this is probably LSU's hardest game of these three. I don't know if the Aggies feel like they can save someone's job at this point. I mean, he may be too far gone, but that said, they're tired of losing to LSU. They've lost 6 straight to them, and every year since they've been in the league with someone they've lost to them. And like last year, I thought for sure LSU had nothing to play for, really, but they dug down and played for Orgeron and just killed A&M in College Station. A&M's kind of getting their act together offensively. They got their starting quarterback back a couple of games ago. He's been hurt since the UCLA game, but they're playing better offensively. They got Christian Kirk, who's a great kickoff returner and receiver, punt returner. I mean, this is a dangerous game for LSU that doesn't seem like it should be, but LSU offensively hasn't played that great. They've had terrible first halves. They don't get off the good first halves. And they come out the gate in the second half and play great, but this is a game where they need to come out and play well offensively right off the bat. And LSU needs to come out and play inspired, especially the seniors, their last home game. There's some seniors on this team who are looking forward to, having a good farewell party. They need to come out and play because A&M, they have nothing to play for, but they have something to play for. Basically, it's the fact that they don't want to lose to LSU again. They got a senior class who's never beaten LSU. They don't want to lose again.
Ron, before we get to that game, tonight the LSU men's basketball team plays against Notre Dame in the Maui Classic over in Maui, of course, the Lahaina Civic Center. Last night they got a kind of a surprising win, I think, to most people. It was very late. I don't know how many people watched it, but they beat Michigan. I don't think anybody was too surprised that they beat Alcorn State and Samford, but to go and beat Michigan on a neutral court, a team that's had great success under Jim Boeheim, what did you think of that, and what do you think of the job Will Wade's doing right now? It's a little bit surprising, I think, their early success.
Well, I mean, this team's going to play hard no matter what, and when they don't play defense, they're going to hear about it. And they won the second game by 20 over Stanford, and Will Wade was not happy with the defense, and they went back to work, obviously, and it showed up last night. I mean, last night when they got down in the second half, they led the whole way, and all of a sudden they hit a little dry spell in Michigan. They let some Michigan, this one Michigan outside shooter, getting loose for 2 or 3 threes, and they got down by 7, 8, or 9 points. At that point, you think, okay, here it goes. This is what we saw last year, and it didn't happen. But the freshman point guard LSU has Tremont. I'm learning his last name. He was
Tremont Waters.
He basically just pulled LSU back in possession by possession. Epps is finally healthy, and he hit a couple of big threes. And Waters makes two plays in the last minute and a half, and just he dives for a loose ball at midcourt into a pile of players, and he basically he throws a blind pass back over his head to a teammate, goes in and dunks it, and LSU's ahead, and that's really, I think that really broke Michigan's spirit, and it was a great win, and you could see how excited that they were about the win. I mean, Will Wade would look like like one of the players out there at the end, bouncing around and realize that they beat a brand name. Now, Michigan may not be as great as they were in the past, but to beat a brand name like that has much more basketball success recently than LSU was huge for them. So, I mean, and after the game, Will Wade revealed a fact. He said, he goes, this is how Tremont Waters is his attention to detail. A couple of days ago when they got there, they found out that they were playing with Adidas brand basketballs, and they felt different than the Nike basketballs than LSU normally plays with. So Tremont Waters kind of somehow lifted one of the Adidas basketballs that they used for the tournament and basically walked around with it for 2 days just to get the feel of it. just was familiar to him, and it paid off last night.
Oh boy! Hopefully Donald Trump doesn't have to go try to get him out of jail for stealing a basketball. Oh boy! Look out! Look out! International crisis!
He's on the mainland.
Exactly. Ron Higgins joining us. Ron Higgins joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. Ron, I know we're hopscotching topics, but look, it's something that we haven't really talked about a ton because we're kind of absorbed in all these other successful teams that are going on right now. But what do you make of the Chip Kelly Derby? It sounds like everyone's hot and heavy after Chip Kelly. It sounds like Florida's talked to him. You're hearing reports that they're on the verge of agreeing to a deal. Then he's going to want to talk to UCLA. Look, what do you make of the Chip Kelly Derby?
I guess I'll be really, really surprised if he goes to Florida. Because Chip Kelly's just a West Coast guy. He knows that conference. Everybody says, well, Florida is such a fertile recruiting state. Well, California isn't bad. I mean, if you look at the best high school recruiting states in the nation, you put Florida, California, and Texas, and he kind of already won. But I have a feeling that that's why he's waited. The UCLA thing, that kind of popped open, kind of like at the last second. But unlike LSU, I'm pretty sure Florida has a backup plan. That they have a list of people that they feel like they put together they can go through in case they don't get Chip Kelly. They don't want Chip Kelly to be their Tom Herman. Like, at the last second, this is the job he really wanted. He really wanted. I really wanted Texas. I'm saying Kelly really wanted UCLA, but he's more comfortable with the Pac-12. He knows that league, and he could be the quote unquote a West Coast guy. And I think that's Florida's. That might be their fear, but also I think they'll be better prepared. That said, that's no knock on Ed Orgeron, who's done a really nice job. I'm just saying LSU apparently didn't have that plan last year when Herman turned them down. I think Florida will, and I think they'll move on to their next guy, whoever that is, and I'm sure he'll be a pretty good guy.
Yeah, Ron, we were rating the jobs that might be available or currently available in the SEC, and I would think that Florida still has to be the number one job, don't you? I mean, that's a place where you can win a national title if you can hold down the fort recruiting. They still have a huge brand, but for whatever reason, they've struggled since Urban Meyer left.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the only job in the league that's going to be out there that you can win a national title at. And the other places, it's harder because of the recruiting, or their in-state recruiting. I mean, and we discussed this before, but every job that's open doesn't have really great in-state high school football, and it's hard to win those places. And Florida is one of those places that has great high school football. That's why it is baffling. That's why to Florida, you probably get a little bit shorter leash than other places because the in-state football is so good. It's expected that you could just recruit in-state. And I know they have competition with the Florida State, and Miami, and Florida Atlantic, and Central Florida, and every other Florida you can stick on there. But there's enough talent to go around that you get some people that you can win. And Florida, frankly, hasn't done that. And that's why you see at Florida, you'll see guys fired pretty quick. McElwain, Ron Zook. There's a little bit shorter leash because the expectations are higher because they believe you have enough talent sitting around you to win quicker.
Ron Higgins, LSU SEC columnist, joining us right here on the show. Hey, Ron, appreciate the time as always. And look, you're going to be covering Pelicans Spurs tomorrow night as well. So look, man, you're a man of among many hats now, man. You got to get used to making that drive down here to New Orleans.
Oh yeah, it's not a bad drive at all. I mean, especially when you drive back at midnight, it's nobody on the road. Right?
Exactly. Stay between the lines. Don't look like you're driving like you've been out on Bourbon Street all night. So hey, Ron, appreciate the time as always, my friend.
All right, guys, take care. We'll see you.
All right, that's Ron Higgins, LSU SEC, and moonlighting Pelicans.
Hey, I've ridden with Ron. I can tell you for a fact that he is not going to be going 60 in the left lane. He's going to be going about 90 or 100.
You'd be grabbing the oblique handles up top.
I'm pretty sure Ron can make that trip from New Orleans to Baton Rouge in an hour or maybe less.
In about 35 minutes.
He's hauling tail. I can tell you that, man. It is a white line fever.
We will turn our gears to the NFL for the rest of the show. In about 10 minutes or so, we'll have former Saints linebacker Scott Shanley jump on the show. And look, let's see, the Falcons beat the Seahawks, and I think the Falcons are now in the 6th spot.
Yes.
In the NFC South.
3 of the top teams in the NFC South in the playoffs right now.
Just goes to show you the gauntlet of games that are coming up for the Saints.
Yep.
Even more crucial. So we'll talk with Scott about that and everything else NFL the rest of the way here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Duncan Holder.
Yeah, people are asking us if we want to make our predictions.
Your shot at $1,000 now. Text the keyword
I didn't really thought about it.
to 200-200. You'll get a text confirming entry.
I'd rather not.
Radio info. Standard data and message rates apply. That's money to 200-200.
Well, source says Marlins and Giants have had deeper conversations on GM Cardinals.
I think they're going to get him.
Jeffrey's in love, and he gets to keep him for a year.
This is Tulane football.
I will definitely keep him now if he's a Giant.
Regular season at SMU. This Saturday on your home for Tulane football.
Sports 1280, New Orleans.
iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Our sold out 2017 iHeartRadio Music Festival from Las Vegas.
Let's go.
2 nights, 1 stage. Over 20 of the biggest artists on the planet. Celebrated with iHeartRadio fans from around the world.
iHeartRadio, we appreciate it.
Our sold out 2017 iHeartRadio Music Festival. Coldplay, Big Thomas Rhett, The Weeknd, and more.
Watch our must-see iHeartRadio Music Festival tomorrow night and Friday night at 7 p.m. on NOLA 38, the CW.
AutoZone presents...
All right, 1 minute.
Regular oil changes protect your engine from wear and tear, helping your car roll well beyond the 100,000-mile mark. Right now, save on 5 quarts of Castrol Edge Full Synthetic or High Mileage and an STP Extended Life filter for $26.99 or upgrade to a Mobile One filter for $3 more. So visit your local AutoZone. With over 5,000 locations, the right supplies and good advice are just around the corner. Let's get you what you need. See store for restrictions and details.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Black Friday doorbusters are here at Target. So here's your make a leftover turkey sandwich and work that savings game plan faster than the kids can spell cranberry sauce guide to the hottest electronics deals. Like an Xbox One bundle for $189.99 with a $25 gift card. Or a Westinghouse 55-inch UHD TV for $249.99. Plus deals on the Jetson hoverboard and iRobot Roomba.
Ron says.
Coming back.
Save big with Black Friday electronics
Left arena at
doorbusters.
10:40,
Doors
arrived
open
home
6 p.m.
at
Thursday.
Baton Rouge
Restrictions
at
apply. See store for
11:45,
details.
cruising altitude at 85.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
The NFC has only gotten more competitive now that the Falcons eked out a win over the Seattle Seahawks. What was it, 34-31?
Yeah, same score as the Saints.
Imagine if the Seahawks didn't go for a buffoonery fake field goal. I saw that call, and I've seen arguments. Oh, well, you know, if you make a call, if you say that is a bad call and you don't know the result, I know the result. There was that call in and of itself. There's no way they would have gotten in the end zone. What was that, like 7 seconds left? And what buffoonery? It was total buffoonery.
That one I didn't get. Like, I totally understood the Gruden call against the Saints, the fake punt. They said basically if it was 2 yards or less, they were going to do it. But anything longer, they didn't feel like they could afford the risk. So there was a calculation there. That one that Seahawks called, I didn't think had a chance. I don't know. It just seemed like a weird call. There was some weird calls all the way around for Pete Carroll last night.
Maybe if you had 5 minutes left in the second quarter, why do it with 7 seconds? Because if it fails, if you don't score, it doesn't do you any good. Like if you don't hit the end zone, it's like I don't understand that.
I tell you what, they're fortunate that they have Russell Wilson because, I mean, he scrambles out of so many. Their offensive line is so bad they have to have a mobile quarterback, and half the plays they make are on his legs, just getting loose from the pocket because Atlanta was coming after him with all kinds of pressure, but he's got this sixth sense. He's able to elude it and make plays with his feet and keep drives alive until they can find somebody downfield on other plays. It was a fun game to watch. But Seattle, I think, is going to have trouble overcoming the Rams out west.
You got to wonder when that's going to finally beat up Russell Wilson and he's going to get an injury and it's going to be bad news bears for them, because I understand he likes to use his athletic ability, but I think you're right. Like, I get on Russell because I feel like if I'm a wide receiver for Seattle, I'd be miserable because all I'm doing is chasing him around all over the field. Why run a route? Like, just wait for him to, like, scramble and run for his life. But I think you're right in that it's become more about the offensive line is terrible, and he has to run for his life.
Yeah, and I thought Atlanta, I'm sorry, they gave up a lot of points last night, but I think their defense is improving, and they're getting pass rush out of McKinley and Beasley. Dontari Poe's been a good pickup for them, so they're actually kind of finding themselves now, and they're going to be a tough out the rest of the way. When the Saints have to go to Atlanta, you know that environment's going to be incredible. That's going to be a big-time game coming up. Whereas if they would have dropped one or two of these games, they might have lost that momentum and sort of given up. I don't think that's going to be the case.
No, you look at the NFC South now, and everyone's going to play everyone. Saints have to keep winning to stay ahead, and it's just the competitive nature of the NFC right now. Like I've written it, and I'm going to have to keep writing it because it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere, even though, look, teams are going to be playing each other, and they're going to be knocking each other off at some point, but the Saints play Carolina, got to play the Falcons twice, and then they play the Rams, and so everyone around them essentially, and then they had played Minnesota already, so the only other team outside of the playoff picture that the Saints will not have played is Philadelphia. And they've played Detroit, who is the 7th spot right now. And Detroit, look, if they beat Minnesota on Thanksgiving, that's a big win for Detroit, and Minnesota drops down a tick. Look, this thing is all up in the air.
Wide open, yeah. I think Sam's right. We don't know. I think Philadelphia is starting to kind of establish themselves as the front runner. That was an impressive win against the Cowboys, even though the Cowboys are missing Tyron Smith and Ezekiel Elliott. You know that they were ready for that game. It was at their own place. They were in the game early, and Philadelphia just wore them down, and their defense is playing very well. They're improving each week as well, so I don't see them coming back to the pack very, very quickly, I don't think.
Well, they're not going to come back to the pack, but also I still look at their schedule, and I kind of mapped out who some of the teams they played. I got
it's tough. Their schedule's tough.
Well, not the Eagles, not as much.
Yeah, it's the Eagles. It's the Vikings. I think
the Vikings have a tough run, but because their division is look, you still got Detroit and I don't know, Green Bay is. I think they're toast. But
so Philly's got the Bears this coming week. Then they play at Seattle, who's still kind of banged up. Then they play at the Rams, at the Giants. That's winnable, obviously. Then they get the Raiders and Cowboys at home. They could easily win their last 3 games of the year.
So they've got 3 road games, 2 on the West Coast.
3 in a row.
I wonder if they just stay out on the West Coast the whole week. Why would you fly back and forth? Right. I don't know. That now that's a tough stretch. Even if you beat Seattle, I'm curious their travel plans. Honestly,
I think if they win one of those games against Seattle or the Rams, they're going to be tough to beat. I don't see them losing to Chicago this week at home. I don't see them losing to the Giants, and I don't think they're going to lose to the Raiders or Cowboys in Philly. So they could easily finish up 5-1, I think. I mean, 4-2 at the worst.
You look at the strength of schedule and the strength of wins, and it's not nearly as impressive as, say, even Minnesota, much less the Saints or the Panthers or the Falcons. So they've got a fortunate stretch, and so, hey, they might finish 14-2 or 13-3, but hey, I don't think they're completely invulnerable.
No, I don't either. I think Carson Wentz, though, I will say this, he's a very mature second-year player. I mean, he's a guy that I think is going to end up being one of these quarterbacks like a Matt Ryan that's going to be good for a decade and you can build around. He just has intangibles and leadership qualities that don't show up sometimes just on, him throwing the ball. And I think he's a very mature 24-year-old, or whatever he is.
I'm sure the Cleveland Browns love to see that left and right. They're a bunch of morons anyway.
I'm with you on that. And as a guy,
nothing you can say about him.
And I grew up being a Browns fan. I just can't believe their search continues for a quarterback. It's unbelievable.
Exactly. So coming up next here, former Saints linebacker Scott Shanley. We will talk with him about his thoughts on the Saints' 8-game win streak and all the comparisons between this 2017 team and the 2009 team. The comparisons keep coming, and you would suspect it when they keep winning. So, and especially with the Washington game. So we'll hear what Scott had to say about all that and more. So come on back. Sports 1280 NOLA.com and the iHeartRadio app. We're Dunc and Holder.
Your forecast on Sports 1280.
This report is brought to you by TrueCar.
From the Fox 8 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist
What's the matter with you?
Today,
Run.
Tuesday,
Get your peak
mostly
up.
cloudy skies. Your temperature is 69 degrees. A slight chance of a shower, only at 20%. Now tonight, overnight lows drop to the upper 40s on the North Shore, low to mid 50s south. Tomorrow, Wednesday, a cold front moves in during the day. We cool down actually to the lower 60s by the afternoon. And then for Thanksgiving Day itself, it is looking beautiful.
CBS fires
Sunny
Charlie
and chilly,
Rose. That was
high
fast.
in the upper 50s. Overnight lows 30s north and 40s south. From the Fox 8 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Bruce Katz with your Weather Authority forecast.
With TrueCar, you can see what others paid for the car you want, so you can recognize a great deal. TrueCar users on average save over $3,000 off MSRP. For new or used cars, visit TrueCar for a more confident car buying experience.
At this point, I kind of want to smash the TV. But instead, I went to iPlay.com and downloaded the app and play new and classic games on my computer for free. No sign up and no credit card required. Nothing like a good mystery to take me away, but I don't have time for a movie or novel. So instead, I'm into the latest iPlay games in the Mystery Case Files Adventure series.
All right, we got Shanley.
Agatha Christie murder mystery games hit the spot. I get my mystery fix and come away thinking more clearly. No Wi-Fi? No problem. With the free iPlay app, I can play my games offline and tune out. I'm so glad I went to iPlay.com and downloaded the app. It's my daily sanity restoration. I play every day.
St. Jude continues to advance by increasing cure rates in childhood cancer.
All right, 1 minute.
These are important to us because you get the feeling that you have a team behind you.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Learn more at stjude.org.
It's time for some straight talk. The big wireless companies charge a boatload for their superior network coverage. But guess what? Straight Talk uses the same cell towers but charges a lot less. Who knew? Well, now you do. And I do. So let's do something. It's time to switch to Straight Talk. Unlimited plans start as low as $35 a month on America's largest, most dependable networks. Straight Talk Wireless. Only at Walmart.
Savings may vary. A month equals 30 days. Please refer always to the latest terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com. Put a grand in your hand.
Apparently, Shanley's a fan of Pantera.
He absolutely is. Yes.
I got it queued up.
When you hear the keyword, text it to 200-200. Listen all day for a chance to put a grand in your hand on Sports 1280, New Orleans. We bleed purple, green, blue, black, and gold. Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Enough of our guests make musical requests heading into the show, heading into their segment, and so our own producer extraordinaire, David, knew what Scott Shanley fancied, and that's a little Pantera for him on this Tuesday morning. Scott, that's right for you, my friend. How are you?
I love it. I love it. I know Philip Anselmo's around there somewhere with his Saints gear on with the way these guys are playing.
Oh, I figured you guys haven't been like hanging out and going to the dungeon in the quarter and just doing some debauchery before and after, and hey, even during some of these games.
No, well, it's been a while since we've been able to talk about some good Saints wins, but this team's rolling, and it's fun to see everyone get excited again. That dome was rocking against Washington. It's fun to see.
Yeah, Scott, Sean Payton actually, after the game on Sunday, kind of brought up that 2009 Redskins win that you played in. I mean, when you were watching the game on Sunday, did you kind of have some deja vu there, thinking back to that game? It kind of played out very similarly.
Yeah, I think obviously it's the same opponent, so it's easy to make that correlation. But I just think when you're going through a season and things just start happening the way they've been happening for this team, I know going through it in 2009, you start to say this is a special year, and you got to take advantage of every moment that turns your way. And everybody saw the odds of winning that game were slim to none, and to pull that game out, those are the types of things that happen along the way of a special season, and hopefully these guys can sense that and feel that.
Scott Shanley joining us right here on the show. Of course, Super Bowl Saints linebacker Scott Shanley right here on Dunc and Holder. Scott, look, you've watched this team go from 0-2 to 8-2. A lot of the talk has certainly been on the defensive side of the football, and we saw the defense kind of slip against Washington. I think injuries played a bigger factor than anything else on that. But when you see them at its core, and you see what Dennis Allen is doing with this defense, what do you see has been the major change from, say, the past few years to now?
Well, I think first and foremost, you got to give Dennis a lot of credit. He's been a good coach in this league for a long time. A lot of it is just getting guys, first of all, healthy and situated. There's a lot of young guys getting a lot of playing time. But I think more than anything, it's just been confidence. You look out on the field, a lot of these same guys were the guys on the field the past couple of years. I mean, Kenny Vaccara's been out there, Cam Jordan. A lot of these guys have been out there who have gone through the struggles. But when you turn on the games now, you see a lot of young guys flying around playing like veterans. You see confidence. You see Dennis understands what the strengths of the guys on the field are. He puts them in position to make plays. And you don't ever really get to that point until you start having success, because you're always constantly second-guessing yourself and trying to look for new ways to be a great defense. But the one thing these guys are doing is effort to the ball, flying around, the little things people take for granted that are now working.
Yeah, Scott, I was going to ask you about that. I don't hear you bring up anything, and when we talk to players over the years, they tend to think, I hear a lot from players saying scheme is overrated. And then we get a lot of questions immediately. We're always asking about the 3-4, 4-3. It seems to me that Dennis is a multiple defense, and it's more about just, the old cliche. It's more about the Johnnies and Joes than the X's and O's with him. These guys are just believing in themselves and kind of the intangibles. I think they're a smart defense. It seems like the linebacker core has a bunch of guys that have been around the block a little bit, so they're kind of getting them in the right alignment. But I don't hear as much from you about what they're doing schematically as much as it is just the execution.
Yeah, no doubt. No matter what you run, I think first and foremost, the players who are on the field playing defense have to believe in their coordinator. They have to believe in the things they're doing are going to help them win games. And when we had Greg Williams, I see a lot of what Dennis does, the same thing that Greg did. Very multiple safeties on the field. You got DBs on the field. Now you put 3 linebackers on the field. A lot of different things. Greg, his saying was, we have 30 different ways to put 11 guys on the field. So however you can contribute to help us win games, those are the packages that are going to be on the field for that week. And I'm seeing a lot of the same things with this team. And a lot of guys bring different skill sets, and it's about putting guys in a position to take advantage of their skill set. But when you get a defense believing what they're doing is going to help them win on Sunday, now guys who are maybe 4-6 guys are now playing like 4-4 guys because they're anticipating plays.
Wait, we have a Steve S. from East Rutherford on the line. I think he wants to talk with Scott about schematics and trying to log jam some pieces in there. Oh, I'm sorry, we blocked him. He's not going to be able to jump on the show. Scott Shanley joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. Scott, when you hear comparisons of this team to the team you played on that won the Super Bowl, A, does it get you a little nostalgic, and B, you look at one team compared to the team you played on, is there a comparison that you see, or is it just different pieces and they're finding success in different ways?
Yeah, I think different teams, different times. Part of it is obviously in 2009 we won 13 games in a row, and I think we felt like anytime you can win that many games in a row, you got to do something with that season. It's a special season that doesn't come around often. I think comparing 8-game winning streak, 8-2, these guys are rolling. It's been the most success the Saints have had in a few years. But I think at the same time, it's kind of a disservice to the group of guys on this team when you keep comparing them to the 2009 season, because it's almost like if you don't win the Super Bowl, it's a failure. And I think this team can definitely challenge in the NFC. I don't see a team out there that would love to play the Saints in the playoffs, because I think they got the best quarterback in the NFC right now. And I think it's one of those teams that these next 3 games will tell us a lot about how far this team can go. If you can get through these next 3 games, maybe go 2-1 or 3-0, this team definitely has a chance to do something come playoff time.
Yeah, Scott, you mentioned earlier about being a defensive player and having to believe in your coordinator. I would imagine it's the same way for any player on the team, having to believe in their field general. And as you watched Drew Brees put together those 2-minute drives, I bet you could remember back to when you played with him and him being able to pull a rabbit out of his hat and lead a team down the field and win a game like that. That's so invaluable, I would imagine, as a player, to have a guy that you believe in at the most important position on the team.
Yeah, the one thing that my linebackers coach Joe Vitt always used to say, and it's so true, you either have hope or despair. And a lot of that hope or despair on a team comes from who's at quarterback for your team. So every week the Saints have hope that they can get a win. And it's kind of funny because as Drew gets older, we all keep looking for reasons, or maybe he's not throwing the ball with as much zip, or maybe they're protecting him because that's why they're running the ball so much, because Drew's getting old. And then he does what he does in the last 3 minutes of that game, and he is a marvel. I mean, what he can do, there's no doubt in my mind after seeing that he could still line up, and the Saints want to throw 50 times a game to try to win games. They can do that. But I just think the formula that they found this year is not to protect Drew Brees and him getting older. It's to help the defense. If anything, running the ball has helped the defense. It's given confidence to the offensive line. And so I think Drew, what he's been able to do and the confidence that this team has on game day because he's under center is what it's been since 2006.
Scott Shanley joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. Scott, you mentioned kind of the NFC landscape, and it's kind of up in the air. Which team do you think would give the Saints most trouble come playoff time?
It's a tough question because I've tried to study Philly against Dallas. Dallas is not the same team to really evaluate teams against. I'm not completely sold on Philly. I think there's some inconsistencies, and nobody really scares me on that team. When I go through the NFC, I don't think anybody would want to play the Saints, obviously because of the guy we just mentioned and the way the defense is playing. But my worry, and it's been for the past month, and I've talked about it, is playing the Atlanta Falcons late in the season. Because I felt like playing them early in the season when they had a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover, that team has enough pieces and is still very talented that once they get confidence, and they've gotten 2 big wins the past 2 weeks, they could do some things against the Saints as far as affecting seeding. I don't see them win the division, but I think the Vikings, their defense is probably the best in the NFC, but again, are you going to take Drew Brees or Case Keenum? So it's all about seeding, getting a first-round bye, getting a game at the Dome, and I think these Saints could do something in the NFC because there's nobody that really scares me.
Scott, I want to switch gears with you and talk about the Nebraska Cornhuskers. I've got to ask you.
Uh-oh.
The rumors.
I didn't know Jeff was doing this, Scott. I did not. Look, I blocked off Steve S. from East Rutherford, but I can't block this off from one Jeff Duncan.
No, but come on, Scott. The rumors are hot and heavy out there.
Steve S. is throwing his name in the Husker head coaching search, I think.
Are you going to be up for that job?
Huh?
Are you going to be up for that job, Scott?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
I think I'll keep coaching my son's 4th grade team. It's more rewarding than coaching a program with a lot of expectations.
Well, the rumors are hot and heavy about Scott Frost. Obviously, what do you think about that? That's a guy that obviously is a Nebraska guy, alma mater, everything about him from that school. It seems like a natural connection, but I don't know how valid it is.
Yeah, I think it's just an obvious connection because he was the quarterback on the last national championship team. The one thing about it, and being a Nebraska guy, and everybody in Nebraska wants a former Nebraska guy because they just assume that he knows what it takes to win. But it's been 20 years. It's a different era. If you ask me personally, if Scott was hired, I'd be happy with that. But at this point, I'm looking for a guy who's proven program builder. The way Ohio State got Urban Meyer, the way Michigan got Jim Harbaugh, who'd won at other places. To me, Scott is very young. He went to Central Florida, who they were in a BCS game a couple years before he got there. And Central Florida is kind of one of those programs where even if you get the leftover talent in Florida, still good enough to win against the teams you play against. So personally, I would rather have an established program builder, but Scott Frost, the one thing about it is he's going to get the benefit of time if things don't go well early. And he's an energetic coach, so I know Husker fans want some Husker blood in there.
Scott Shanley, right here on Dunc and Holder. Hey, Scott, appreciate it as always. And hey, it's good to have some Saints connections and watch some good football. So I'm sure you're joining, and appreciate you jumping on the show as always.
Absolutely, no problem, guys. Take care.
There you go. And more Pantera for you, Scott, right here on the show. Always. I remember way back when he was playing, I mean, that was his guy, Phil Anselmo.
Yeah, Phil Anselmo would come to practices, Saints practices, and call me over, and we'd have these conversations. I mean, he was picking my brain. He's a huge Saints fan. I think he lives over on the North Shore, right, or lived over on the North Shore for a while.
I don't know where he lives. I just assumed he lived at the Dungeon in the Quarter. I don't know, just like any other heavy metal man. That's like the only bar I know that people would go to. I don't know. Jeff, you would know. They got any heavy metal bands, rock bands, bars in Uptown or what? No?
Not that I know of.
No, not so much?
No.
Hang out in the dark corners of Snake and Jake's maybe?
No, we're going to get back into that same conversation about the angst and, how everybody's all mad when they get into this hard rock.
I mean, this is typically Torture Tuesday, and we dialed it down a little bit, man. So
they probably play plenty of Pantera at the Dungeon. That's what I'm guessing.
I guarantee you that. So one more segment here. So come on back. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
Yeah, he's got some big, huge Saints tattoo.
He's in the end zone. He's got it in the end zone.
I think he lived in Covington or something like that. Went to Grace King.
Went to Covington. It doesn't even make any sense.
I'm telling you, man, that's where he lived.
At SMU.
What?
This Saturday on your home for Tulane football.
Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Bet you didn't know this. Broadcast radio reaches more people in America than TV. Yeah, AM/FM radio. The radio that's free in your car, your kitchen, your office. Broadcast radio reaches more adults, teens, and millennials.
Massive.
More of
Yeah,
everyone.
man. Look at this.
More shoppers. Broadcast radio reaches
Pantera's a big
93%
deal.
of Americans
I don't
every
know.
week. That's bigger than TV,
I just
Facebook,
know him
and
from
Google.
being out there, and he
If you're a
call me
marketer who
over
needs to
and
reach new fans, visit
asking me about the backup
iHeartMedia.com for the
linebackers.
one place
And Pantera's a
everyone
pretty
is
big
listening.
deal.
AM/FM
I don't know if it is as much
It's time
anymore,
for some
but
straight talk.
in their heyday, they were
Wireless
like
companies charge a
the
boatload for their
metal
superior
band, man.
coverage.
We got to make our picks
1
here
minute.
at some point.
Straight talk.
I guess. Which
Yeah.
picks?
Come on now. Come on, don't bail out.
We'll have about 10 minutes.
All right, bud.
Which picks? What do you mean?
We have to pick the
It's time
Saints
to
Rams
switch
game.
to straight talk.
I
Unlimited
guess.
plans
Come
start
on, man.
as
You
low
gotta
as
stick your head out
$35
there.
a month on
I
America's
don't know who's
biggest, most
healthy.
dependable network.
got to go without it.
Wireless.
Flip a coin.
A month equals 30 days. Please
What kind
refer.
of nonsense is
You have
this?
vast sports knowledge, Larry.
I need more knowledge to make a pick.
Difficult decision. Continue the dream of education or drop out.
My only question is which color are their uniforms going to be, because that's how I choose.
Bright
That's
eyes.
typically how
See potential,
many people
not
choose.
poverty. At Unbound.
Hope they wear the yellow ones again. That's my favorite.
In your hand. Win $1,000.
Yeah, that's true. They wear the white or the gold, right?
Weekdays.
The Ram
Yeah, I hate the white and I hate the gold. Go yellow. That was what I grew up on. It's good enough for me, Pappy. It's
Yellow.
good enough for me.
To put a grand in your
That's
hand.
me. I'm the old
Sports
crotchety
1280,
one.
New Orleans.
I think I'm going to pick the Rams.
Dunc and Holder now. Josh Innes next at noon on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
I'm getting all this pressure from Jeff and the YouTube listeners and
They want our picks.
Dave, and they want our picks already.
Larry's trying to balk and delays because he thinks he needs to see the injury status of both rosters. Come on. Just make a pick.
Just make a pick.
Yeah, your life's not on the line here.
I have no idea if Marshawn Lattimore is going to play. I have no idea if A.J. Klein's going to play. I have no idea if Kenny Vaccaro is going to play. Just
make a pick.
Screw it. Just make a pick.
It's not. I mean, your son's college education isn't on the line.
Have you seen my picks? At least in college picks when we do.
Well, you can't do any worse. Then that's what I'm saying. So.
Yeah, but I've gotten a lot of these Saints games right lately. Like, a lot of them.
Well, the Saints we've been riding because we know that this team believes in itself and is playing well on all facets. So I haven't had any trouble making Saints picks all year. It's been pretty easy. But I'm going to go against them this week. I know you don't want to make your pick, but I'm telling you right now, I'm picking the Rams. I just feel like it's one of those games. The Rams are coming off a tough loss. They're going to be back home. The Saints have been on this magical run, and they've got a bunch of injuries on defense. To me, it adds up to a loss. First loss in a while.
I think you can survive, and I'm saying survive, and I don't even know if against the Rams you can, say an A.J. Klein and a Kenny Vaccaro, but we saw the difference maker was Marshawn Lattimore. I feel like that you go pick up Sterling Moore, but by the way, we haven't even mentioned that. Look, he's returning to the team. That is a signal to me that Marshawn Lattimore won't be playing this week. And I feel like if you're the Saints, you're not looking at the schedule necessarily because you always want Marshawn Lattimore, but if it's a 2-week injury, I think you wait it out and have him be ready for Julio Jones in a couple weeks. Because Carolina, do they have a receiver that really scares the hell out of you? No. Greg Olsen will be back when they play Carolina in a couple of weeks. But I think you want to be ready to have Marshawn Lattimore up against Julio Jones.
That's a great point. Julio Jones, man, what a player. Did you see him last night? He is a true difference maker. And the more we see him play, the more we see him dominate, the more it kind of validates that controversial decision that Tom Dimitroff made. Remember, he traded like 5 draft picks or something?
Ton of picks. Yes.
I mean, it was crazy at the time. And I remember thinking there's no way any wide receiver is worth that. But I think you could make a case for it. I mean, he is a true difference maker. And I thought it was interesting. I know I referenced that Michael Rappaport podcast. If you haven't listened to that interview with Sean Payton, it's really good. He's very candid on it. And one of the questions that Rappaport asked Sean Payton is, what's one player, past or present, that you've coached against that just totally took your breath away? And the first person Sean mentioned was Marshall Faulk when he coached with and against him. And then the second one he said was Julio Jones. He said, you look at that guy on the field, how when you're down on the field and see him make these plays against elite athletes, he said he's truly a wonder.
Now I'm going to reference a column that has not hit the print or online. It's going to come out later this week, and it's basically me talking about how these defensive injuries are certainly an issue for the Saints. But if you're going to make these comparisons to 2009, just remember that in 2009, this Saints team dealt with plenty of injuries on defense. Just look at, they had Jabari Greer and Tracy Porter both out at the same time for, say, a 4-game stretch. Jabari Greer actually only played 9 regular season games that year, and the Saints had to duct tape it up with Mike McKenzie, Chris McAllister. Even in the Patriots game, actually it was in that Redskins game, they were without their top 3 cornerbacks. They were without Greer, Porter, and Randall Gay. They had to play with Malcolm Jenkins, who was a rookie and wasn't playing much. Obviously, he moved to safety. Mike McKenzie and Chris McAllister were your starters.
Guys that came right off the street, if I remember correctly.
Exactly.
No, that was remarkable about that game.
Yes, and you looked at it, and also Scott Fujita missed that Redskins game as well, and he missed 5 games that year. Oh, by the way, Charles Grant got injured the last week. Key defensive end as well, and we're able to kind of get it together and make a run. So the point is, I know the Saints have injuries on defense, but good teams make it work. They've made it work so far. Can they make it work if they're without a bunch of these pieces? And I think that's why I'm hemming and hawing about a pick.
You are hemming and hawing.
Because I feel like without those guys, I think the Rams win. Do I feel like the Rams that maybe they're reeling? Look, they just came off of a loss. Look, they only put up 7 points against Minnesota. Do they come back to earth a little bit? Can Sean Payton and Dennis Allen kind of figure out the wizardry of Sean McVay's offense? Obviously, Sean Payton can concoct some plays, and there's enough tape out there where they could affect some things. You know what? You're a Debbie Downer. I'm going with the Saints. Why not?
I knew it'd come down just to gut call on your part.
Because I just don't know at this point in time. You're making me make a pick. It's Tuesday.
You need to make a pick.
I know this show is going to probably re-air on Friday.
This is our Friday this week.
I know. This is our Friday.
Look,
Saints are going to win. Forget it.
The Saints could easily win this game.
They could.
We know that.
Yes.
They've patched up these holes routinely throughout the year. I just think it's a tough matchup for them playing against a good passing attack, a very creative offensive mind.
Look, Todd Gurley is playing like a monster too, but they don't have Robert Woods. Their best receiver is out for the next couple of weeks. Sean McVay said that, so you're going to be dealing more with Sammy Watkins and more with Tavon Austin.
And Cooper Kupp. And look, the Saints offensive line, I think they got a little shell-shocked as far as getting some push and some feedback and some hit back from Washington. I think they'll be geared up for an Aaron Donald and for a Robert Quinn. I think they'll be prepared for that. Yeah, look, I think Sam made a point earlier saying that they don't get these huge crowds at the Coliseum. It's not going to be a really hostile environment.
I bet you Saints fans are going to be in droves.
And there'll be a ton of Saints fans there. It's not going to be like going to Seattle.
No.
Or a really hostile environment. And so that could play into the Saints' hands. You know, they're not going to have to worry about crowd noise and things like that. I don't think it's not going to be the same kind of environment. It's probably going to be a lot like when they went to San Diego last year, and
it took over.
Huge crowd out at that game.
I think it's the same way. So, yep, I'm going with the Saints. How you like that?
I like
you made me make a pick. I'm making a pick. I'm just going to say the Saints are going to win. I'm not even making a score yet because it might be a 3-point game for all I know, but I'm just going to say Saints are going to win.
And the Thanksgiving Day games all could have playoff implications. Vikings at Lions, Giants at Redskins, and the Chargers at the Cowboys. So, I mean, the Saints could be even in better shape after Thursday.
Well, depending if Detroit can take out Minnesota, that'll certainly help, and that's a viable – look, Detroit needs that win because right now they're the 7th team. The Falcons have jumped them, so, yeah, should be good.
Lions have won 4 straight Thanksgiving Day games. Little tip for you.
Little tip, yep. And look, Sean's playing. Sean is coaching against the second Sean ever after never coaching against the Sean. So, boy, this whole vortex is coming together. Want to thank Sam Farmer. Want to thank Ron Higgins, Todd Graffinini, and, of course, Scott Shanley. Appreciate it. As always, have a happy Thanksgiving. And we will see you back here. The show will on the following Monday. Jeff and I won't be back till the following Tuesday as we'll be in Los Angeles, so all of our coverage there. So, see ya. Happy Thanksgiving. Sports1280 NOLA.com and the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
I may drink too much and play too loud.
The second annual Strikes for
Thanks,
Kids
bud.
bowling.
All right, guys. Yeah, look, if y'all get any ideas about
I'll email you.
Play or something.
I'll email you some stuff later on this afternoon.
All right, that's cool.
Cool. All right,
guys.
See you.
Cool. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all.
You too, buddy.
All right.
Hosted by Saints linebacker Craig Robertson and his
So
teammates.
Todd, yeah.
For a great day of
VIP
bowling
here.
for great
Yeah.
Go to
Done June.
SportsForKidsNewOrleans.com.
I didn't know it was open during the day. It used to not open until midnight. So it's not the same.